Greetings, all you very rare individuals. Welcome to another Afro-Scot podcast. This is episode 10, and we're going to talk about talking to the source. Now, when I say talking to the source, I mean instead of looking for every other place to get your information, you can talk to the source. And what does that have to do with Africans and Afro-Scot? Well, what I notice is a lot of individuals go to the media or something else entirely different from actually Africans to understand African culture. And I believe the media kind of shrouds it a bit, cuts it up a little bit. It doesn't really say what it's like, because the media is only going to say what they see, so what somebody experiences is different from what somebody sees, if you know what I'm saying. What an African experiences in Scotland or in Africa is very different from if somebody was just to move there and just look at what is going on in the present and then be like, alright, okay, this is what Africa must be like. So the media doesn't really give you the best information. And by talking to the source, you first have to be quite curious to African culture. What is African culture about? Spend some time around Africans. Ask them some questions about themselves. What did they experience? And by asking these Africans some questions, you start to come to an understanding. Because in my opinion, I believe it's very, very difficult to really understand somebody unless you've really gotten to know them. And I realized that this kind of divide with a lot of people in Africans that they don't really understand the African culture. Africa is a big place. There's so many rich, diverse people in Africa and cultures as well, that to just get all your information of Africa from just one source, the media, isn't really the best thing to do. Because from my experiences, I realized that when I actually go and meet people who are African or maybe from France, or maybe I want to do something about the elderly, the best way to get such information is from the actual source. So by getting it from the actual source, you actually start to understand them a lot better, and you can relate with them more. And I know that a lot of people are really uncomfortable going into a space where they're the only race there. You know what I mean? Like a white person won't want to go into a room full of just black people. A black person will want to go into a room with just white people. You know what I mean? The reason for that is we don't really understand each other. You know what I mean? And how can we really understand each other if we haven't even spoke to each other? We need to come to understanding. Be curious. And you notice that still water runs deep. The people who are quite unassuming or you think are like this are usually the complete opposite if you really get to know them. So there's a true advantage to talking to the source. So why don't people talk to the source? Well, the mainly reason why people don't really like to talk to the source is talking to the source is sometimes difficult. Maybe you don't have access to it. Maybe the lack of confidence to talk to some people. In my experiences, I sometimes would want to talk to somebody because maybe I feel like, must be how they are. But when I finish talking to them, they're completely different from what I thought they were. I remember meeting this elderly man, and at first I was kind of standoffish because he had scars on his face, but when he started talking to me, he started saying things about how he adopted children during the Vietnam War. You know what I mean? And I would have never knew that about him or understood that part of his life if I had never talked to him, the source. I had never talked to the source and really gotten to know that part. So I think the best way to really understand an Afro-Scot or African is the top to the source.